This is the Linear Algebra Lectures video series. You can find more information about this video as well as a link to the written textbook in the description below. Stick around to the end of the video to learn more about this video series and the associated teaching and learning tools I've created for it. Lecture 12, Applications to Economics. Our objectives for this lecture are to understand the structure of an input-output model and use matrices to find equilibrium prices in an input-output model. So what's an input-output model? Well, we suppose that an economy is divided into sectors, and each sector outputs goods and/or services, which are then purchased by the other sectors. Over time, economic theory states that these systems will settle into an equilibrium, where the income of each sector exactly balances its expenses. Let's take a look at a simplified example where our economy is divided into three sectors. We'll say that the sectors are telecommunications, which I'll abbreviate as telecom, electricity, and mining. So these arrows represent the shifting of goods and services and money between the three sectors. What we want to notice here is that the sum of the arrows leaving each sector sums to 100%. So we assume that all of the goods and services that each sector produces are fully purchased either by the sector itself or by the other sectors. So for example, if we look at the arrows leaving the mining sector, we can see that 60% of that output is purchased by the telecom sector, 20% is purchased by the electricity sector, and that the mining sector purchases 20% of its own output. Rather than representing these relationships visually, we can also put these data in a table. So the way you want to read this table is to look at each column of the table and notice that the column tells you where that output from that sector is going. So for example, the mining sector, again, we can see that 60% of the mining sector's output is going to telecom, 20% is going to electricity, and then 20% of that mining output is going back into mining. And here we notice that each column adds up to 100%, which represents the idea that all of the output from each sector is being fully purchased by either itself or the other sectors. Now, at any given time, the state of the economic model is usually not going to be in equilibrium. And what we do is we transition from one state of our economy to the next by applying these percentages. So for example, let's say that at a given time, the value of the telecom sector is $100 million, the value of electricity is $50 million, and the value of mining is $200 million. We want to apply these percentages and figure out the values in the next state. So we take these values and we apply them to the three sectors. And now let's compute the new value of the telecom sector. What we can see from these arrows is that the new telecom sector is going to be 40% of the value of electricity plus 60% of the value of mining. We compute that to figure out the new value of the telecom sector being $140 million. Similarly, we compute the values of the other sectors. The new value of electricity is 10% of itself, 30% of telecom, and 20% of mining. We compute that to get the new value of $75. And then we do something similar to figure out the new value of mining. That's 50% of electricity plus 70% of telecom plus 20% of mining, which adds up to 135. Now, if we represent the values of each sectors with a variable, so PT is the value of telecom, PE is the value or price, we'll sometimes say, of electricity, and PM is the value of mining, then the new telecom sector, the new electricity, and the new mining can be represented by these formulas here. And this is exactly what we just did with the numbers, now just using variables. Now we want to bring our linear algebra ideas to play here. We can represent the state of our economic sector with a vector. So I'll keep the sectors in the same order we've been using, so telecom, electricity, and mining. And so if I put those three formulas into a vector, this vector tells us the result of transitioning from one state to the next. What we can do is realize that these three formulas are the result of multiplying our state vector by a matrix. And the values in that matrix just so happen to be the values in the percentages in the table that we were looking at earlier. So this matrix is called a transition matrix. And multiplying the values in a state by that matrix gives us the values in the next state. And this is convenient because now we can do this repeatedly. We can multiply m by our vector over and over and over again to see what happens over the course of time. So I've done that here, and I'm showing you here the values of the first 10 states, again starting with our same values, starting with mining being worth 200, telecom being 100, and electricity being 50. And what we should notice is that over time, the values are settling down, and this is the equilibrium that we were talking about earlier. If we're just roughly estimating based on the graph, we could see that the equilibrium price of mining is just above 150, the equilibrium price of telecom is about 125, and the value of electricity at equilibrium is somewhere around 75. But how would we find those values exactly? Well, what we're really looking for is the vector for which, when we transition, we don't change our values. So equilibrium is going to be this state at which multiplying by our transition matrix doesn't change anything. So we're looking for a vector x for which mx is just equal to x again. And this is a different kind of equation than the equations that we've been studying so far. So how do we solve it? Well, let's retrace our steps and remember how we got to this place. We started with a table of values that told us the transition from one state to the next. We put those values in a matrix that we called M, and we multiplied M by our state vector to get formulas that represent the next state. And what we're looking for is a vector for which that result is equal to the vector that we started with. And so if we set each of those formulas equal to the variable that we started with, we get equations that look like this. Now these equations are not in standard form because we have variables on both sides. But we can easily fix that by subtracting pt from both sides of the first equation, pe from both sides of the second equation, and subtracting pm from both sides of the third equation. Don't forget this step. The most common mistake that folks make when they try to start doing these problems is they forget this subtraction step. So remember to do that and you'll be okay. All right, so this gives us a homogeneous system of equations, and we've been talking about how to solve those kinds of systems. We set up and row reduce the corresponding augmented matrix, and then if we write our solution in parametric form, our free variable is pm, which gives us the solution pt, pe, pm is equal to pm times the vector 0.795, 0.4871. Now, pm is a free variable, which means there's actually infinitely many solutions. There's infinitely many equilibria that we could find in this situation. So we need a little bit of additional information to nail down specific prices. For example, what if we happen to know that the equilibrium price of mining was $100 million? Well, we could plug that value into our solution to figure out the equilibrium price of telecom would be $79.5 million, and the equilibrium price of electricity would be $48.7 million. Alternatively, what if we happen to know that the total value of all three sectors was $350 million, just like it was in the example that we talked about earlier? How does that allow us to find the values of the sectors? Well, what we're being told is that PT plus PA plus PM is 350. We've got formulas for PT and PE from our solution, so we substitute those in. Adding up the left-hand side gives us 2.282 PM equals 350. Divide both sides by 2.282, and we get the equilibrium price of mining, in this case, being 153.374. Plug that back into our formulas for PT and PE, and that gives us our three equilibrium prices. Now, if we go back to the graph that we looked at earlier, these equilibrium prices match up with the prices that we saw there. This is because the sum of the sector values is preserved from one state to the next. Remember, all we're really doing is shuffling money around among these sectors. So we started out with everything adding up to 350, and we end up with everything adding up to 350, but at equilibrium. So this economic model, this input-output model, is an example of something more general called a Markov chain. Markov chains have lots of applications, and later in the course, we're going to come back and further study matrix equations that look like mx equals x. We're also going to study more efficient ways to repeatedly multiply a matrix by a given vector. Thanks for watching this video lecture. You can find links to the other videos in this series and to the written textbook in the description below. If you're an instructor, you can contact me for more information about the over 300 online linear algebra homework problems that I've created for the free My Open Math platform.